Hello, welcome to this talk on the paper titled Social Media Participation in an Activist Movement for Racial Equality. This talk is presented by the Stanford Scholar Initiative. Social media can act as a unique tool to investigate activist movements. This paper tries to investigate activist movements focused around racial discrimination and police violence, officially known as Black Lives Matter. Let's talk more about it. Racial discrimination and inequality in the criminal justice system has always been a consistent issue in the United States. A few famous instances are cases like that of black teen Trayvon Martin, who was shot in 2013 by George Zimmerman. However, Zimmerman was acquitted, and this spurred a movement with the hashtag Black Lives Matter. This movement gained significant momentum with the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner in 2014. But why is Black Lives Matter an interesting research question? Well, that's because unlike other movements, BLM protests were highly decentralized yet very well coordinated. They were also influenced by a sequence of events of brutality and not just one. From Arab Springs to Black Lives Matter, despite there being an active involvement of social media, little is understood regarding the relationship between the expanse of a movement online and its growth in the offline world. Social media is instrumental in answering quite a few questions about phenomenon that is often triggered or amplified online, such as evolution of a movement and how it gained attention from newcomers over time. This kind of power offered by social media can predict the size of protests around the country and can also be used as a way to call for collective action online. Some questions we seek answers to are: what are the temporal characteristics of social media participation in BLM? How does social media participation manifest geographically? Is social media participation more in regions with high police violence against blacks? What is the relationship between social media attributes and protests? Authors in this paper use data from social media activity to understand people's thoughts, opinions, and sentiments related to Black Lives Matter and try to establish its link to events happening on the ground. Let's now talk about the research methodology and data aggregated and gathered by the paper authors and the methods that they used for its analysis. Social media data was gathered around events related to BLM using the Twitter streaming APIs. These events were utilized to identify major hashtags as shown on the slide. Data regarding deaths attributed to police shootings was collected through a service called Fatal Encounters. This contained information about the location, time, cause of police shooting incident, and the race of the person shot. Using this, the rate of police killings of blacks, that is PK, was calculated. As we can see from the different data collected during the Ferguson analysis, there was an activity spike in between two different real-time events. Similar observations can be derived from NYC and Baltimore, where spikes in activity occurred either after or between major events. This figure depicts rate of police killing index visualized over the US states. Data about the number of BLM-related protests and demonstration participants was collected using sources like LFrame, Wikipedia, and Google searches. This was utilized to calculate protest volume, or PV, of participating individuals. These graphs on the slide represent the total number of individuals involved in events over time. The authors define measures based on content shared on social media that capture aspects of effective expression, linguistic style, and psychological state of individuals. Activity and engagement attributes like number of posts shared, number of unique users, etc. were defined. Measures of effect included positive and negative effect. Emotional expressions were sadness, anger, swear, and anxiety. Cognitive measures like discrepancies and negation were used. There were perception attributes too, like depth, feeling, hearing, and seeing. Social orientation measures like family and friends were used to analyze interpersonal awareness based on frequencies of first person, second person, and third person usage. Finally, there were two attributes for temporal references on Twitter content: use of past, present, and future tenses, and function words based on verbs, adverbs, etc. Results reveal that a proportion of continuing users on Twitter gradually increases over time, and also new user posts increase in context of a notable event. With the growth of BLM movement over time, greater awareness led to decrease in negativity and displeasure among people. In police killing states, high negativity was observed. High personal accounts of perceived incidents and psychological distancing is also observed. On correlation with protest volume of participating individuals, or PV, tell us that greater levels of activity and engagement are associated with high future daily protest volume. High cognitive and perceptual processing and attribution to death characterize high PV in the future. Greater social orientation and depiction of collective identities characterize high PV in the future. Increased futuristic inclination and abstract information processing are also associated with high PV in the future. Results show that Twitter activity was positively correlated with heightened protest volumes. Overall, the authors found that activism on social media can help predict future protests and demonstrations on the street, but they were not sure if the users on Twitter were actually the ones present on the ground. With this, we come to the end of our talk. Thank you for watching.